without weaknesses, the greatest man of action in our century. Someone even said that a man like him was born only once every 500 years. The name of this man was Vladimir Lenin.
They created a myth about Lenin as a benign revolutionary who resorted to violence and terror out of necessity because he had no choice, who was a kindly person, and so on and so forth. And this myth actually became worse after Stalin's death, because Stalin's successor tried to detach Stalin, who was universally despised, from Lenin as the founder of communism. So the real Lenin cult industry only got going after 1953.
I would say that Lenin was unquestionably one of the worst criminals, horrendous criminals of all time. It is very rare, I think in fact unparalleled in human history, for a dictator to be able to perform the amount of evil that Lenin committed.
He was a hater, basically a hater. The driving force behind him was hatred, which links him to all the other totalitarian leaders, such as Hitler and Mao Zedong, whose driving force was hatred.
My homeland has always been a country of a double nature, a country where Europe and Asia meet. Before the revolution, Russia was largely an agrarian state, ruled by the Tsars. It has never been the leading power in Europe. So the revolution had changed Russia. It became one of the superpowers of the century.
My view is that it was an unprecedented catastrophe for Russia, a total disaster. Unfortunately, the revolution for which Lenin was responsible completely changed, in my view, the course of Russia, and caused, as we know, enormous losses in human life, suffering. And the consequences are with us to this day.
At that time, I couldn't even imagine that I will end up driving from Boston to Willimantic. Frankly speaking, back in Russia, I never heard of Willimantic. We just believed that the revolution, masterminded by Lenin, was beginning of the new, superior system. It was like this light in the end of the tunnel. It meant hope and promise for these children, that their children will live in the bright future, will never be oppressed, will never starve. The Russian Revolution was going to overturn the world, and one of the main intentions of Lenin was to create the new human being.
The new human being was the objective not only of Lenin, but of all the socialists, basically. They felt that human beings, such as we knew them, were a kind of anomalous product of class relations. And what you needed was a new type of human being, a kind of Superman, really, who will be intelligent, who will be hardworking, who will be benign, good, and beautiful. Trotsky describes this type in his culture, literature and revolution, revolution literature, where he says that the average human being after the revolution will equal Aristotle, Dante, and Marx, and in the future even greater human beings will still arise. Well, it's pure utopia, nothing like that arose.
I guess by the time I was born, I was supposed to become one of these new human beings. It was almost 50 years since the revolution, and it was probably about the time to expect the first breed of the new human being. I was born in Moscow on a warm May day. There were flowers everywhere. People were smiling. They seemed to be happy. Certainly not because I was born. The whole country was celebrating May Day. Actually, I think I was born on a very special day. My birthday was between the birthdays of Lenin and Karl Marx. That's true. The three of us are Tauruses. Lenin, Marx, and me. I remember my mother was reading me a book about a little boy who was born in a small town on the Volga River. This boy was very honest, brave, and even at that early age, he was intolerant to injustice. The little boy was born in Simbirsk in 1870. He was going to become one of the greatest men in the history. His name was Volodya Ulyanov. Later, he became known as Vladimir Lenin.
Lenin came from a very